1969 was a bumper year for Syd Brown. He was leading New Zealand trainer for the second consecutive season, was presented with the Racing Personality of the Year, made a successful raid on Australia by winning the VRC Derby, and his Woodville stable saddled horses that won a New Zealand record in stakes. A great year, one of many that Brown enjoyed over 7 decades of racing in New Zealand and Australia. Brown yearned for a jockey's life, but weight issues convinced him that training was a better career prospect. He was fortunate to get a licence at 19 when the legal age was 21. Brown made his home at Woodville after marrying Sybil and started working with one of the great horses of the 1950s. Red Craze was to provide great joy and heartbreak for Brown in the stable. Red Craze was nurtured carefully by Brown as he realised that he had a potential Melbourne Cup winner. The horse beat Rising Fast and Toporoa on his way to a place in the 1955 field. But he was to be a victim of fate. A horse fell, pushing Red Craze to the back of the field, and despite a fast finish, the Cup hopes were gone. Australian trainer Tommy Smith saw the potential. He failed to buy Red Craze, but convinced the owner to let him take over the training in Sydney. The champion that Brown had raised went on to win the 1956 Caulfield Cup for another stable. Brown's first trip to Australia had increased the stable profile on both sides of the Tasman. Apart from Red Craze, Historic Era ran third to Rising Fast in the Caulfield Cup, and Somerset won the Manifold Stakes. By the late 60s, Brown and Hall of Fame jockey Bill Skelton were a powerful combination. Brown claimed his first trainer's premiership in the 67-68 season with 46 winners. He followed it up with another premiership in 68-69 with 49 victories and a New Zealand record for prize money of $96,000. The stable was filled with stars, and Brown and Red Craze Lodge mounted their most successful raid on Australia in 1969. Darrell's Joy, Woodcourt Inn and Hamua won almost $100,000 in stakes against the cream of Australia's thoroughbreds in a stunning 6-week run at the Spring Carnival. Hamua accounted for a class field that included Big Faloo and Rain Lover in winning the Caulfield Stakes. Woodcourt Inn's best effort produced a victory in the 1,000 Guineas, as well as some other lucrative places. The star of the trip was Darrell's Joy. The colt vanquished local hero Vane in the Moonee Valley Stakes, thrashed older horses to claim the Cox Plate, and then crowned a magnificent trip for Brown and his crew by winning the VRC Derby. Race caller Peter Kelly had originally introduced Brown to Malaysian and Singaporean businessmen who wanted some yearlings. They bought Darrell's Joy for $1,200 and Woodcourt Inn for $2,000, a couple of bargains. 2 years later, Brown mounted another successful raid, capped by Classic Mission winning the AJC and VRC derbies. In fact, the owners were so confident of victory in Melbourne, they booked one of the city's fashionable restaurants for the celebrations. They had a printer on standby to publish a menu with a cover of Classic Mission's victory. Fortunately, it all went to plan. It was helped by Brown engaging veteran jockey George Moore. The VRC Derby was his last race, and in the afterglow of victory, he presented Brown with his saddle. Moore had second thoughts later that night, but the saddle was safely tucked away in Brown's car and was to remain a treasured memento. The success from those trips, Classic Mission and Crown Law were part of Brown's record of 4 wins and a second from his first 5 starts in Sydney, convinced him to make a permanent move across the Tasman in 1972. The base at Warwick Farm turned out more big names in Triton, who won the 72 Epsom Handicap, and Stormy Seas, Brown claiming 17 Group 1 victories overall. Stormy Seas went closest to one of Brown's coveted prizes in Melbourne, finishing second to Gun Sind in the Caulfield Cup. Brown usually had about 30 horses at his stables in Sydney and continued training until he was 82. Even in retirement, he found it hard to move from the racing hub at Warwick Farm. At times, he mystified some Australians with his tough training methods, one scribe dubbing him Round Again Brown. His reply was that horses hard-fed and hard-trained race hard too. 70 years of racing success and entry into the New Zealand Racing Hall of Fame are testament to a man who was a master of his craft.